Amamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sagandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanam Mrityormukshi Amamritat Swaha. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sagandim Pushtivardhanam.
Good evening, namaste. Welcome, dear friends, to today's class on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Let us begin the class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Bhagwan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Gurudev Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, friend and guide Swami Kriyananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, great sages Ved Vyas, Maharshi Patanjali, Adi Shankaracharya, humbly we bow and touch thy feet. Heavenly Father, open my inner eye of wisdom with thy peace and help me to realize thy goodness and thy unfailing protection are always flowing through me. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Let us invoke the presence of the Gurus by singing the hymn to Brahma. Good evening and Jai Guru to all. And a happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Today we can thank everybody from God to the Gurus, to all the saints and sages, to all the wisdom, to Divine Mother, to all the friends that we have in this world, to all the relatives, to all the challenges, to all the learning, and to every little thing that we just don't pause enough to say thank you. I think we can choose today to be thankful to each and every experience of life, each and every person in our life, and everything, basically life itself. So let's just
Before we start,
yes.
I think I would like to thank you for the, divine energy flowing through you for all of us. And it's such a selfless seva you've been doing. And the kind of energy flowing through us, I don't have words to express. Thank you so much.
Jai Guru, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's read a few words on discrimination by Swami Kriyananda. As science judges the relative speed of any object by one constant, the speed of light, so the devotee judges the relative merit of any idea by the one constant, God. Discrimination is clear only when it relates everything to the eternal absolute. Thus, while the intelligence may toy with ideas endlessly, discrimination asks, is this wisdom? Is it of God? True discrimination is not even the product of reasoning. It is soul intuition. Reasoning, even from the highest point of reference, is uncertain as compared to the inspirations of the superconsciousness. To discriminate clearly, meditate first. Ask God to guide your understanding. Let us do this following affirmation with conviction, first loudly and then softly and then in a whisper. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. Resolutely, I quell my inclinations, that my mind be open to the wisdom guidance of my soul. This affirmation, my dear friends, is such a wonderful reminder that we need to rise above our likes and dislikes, because our personal likes and dislikes distort our true perspective of what reality is. And therefore they block soul intuition. And therefore it is important that we rise above our likes and dislikes. Let's do this prayer mentally. Guide me, Lord, that in all things I know thy will. For I know that only by thy will are all things led to perfection. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Okay, so we continue our study of the Yoga Sutras. We have done from the first chapter, the first book, there is the Samadhi Pada. We have done 39 verses, and we are going to start with the 40th Sutra. But I am today inspired to tell you the story of Nachiketa before we kind of enter into the Yoga Sutras. So the entire Katha Upanishad is based on the story of Nachiketa. And who is this Nachiketa? And I'm sure you would have heard this name and you would have heard that he goes to Yama. So let's just shortly remind ourselves what this story means. And so this is a time of when the Vedic rituals were very, very prevalent. We know that the Vedas are divided into two parts. One is the Karma Kand and the other is the Dhyana Kand. So the Karma Kand part of the Vedas deals with all the rituals, the ceremonies, the outward worships, and the steps that people take to attain worldly pleasures and to attain heaven. So it is clearly described in the Vedas as to how to go about this. So we are talking of a time when people used to strictly follow certain Vedic rituals to attain benefits, the worldly pleasures, as well as in the next world. So Nachiketa is the son of such a person who follows Vedic rituals closely, and he's a ritualistic person. And Nachiketa, in the time of the story and the written or writing of the Katha Upanishad, is between 8 and 12 years, 7 and 12 years old. So he watches his father doing all the rituals all the time. And then one day his father decides that I'm going to do this grand ritual, this grand, Vedic sacrifice, this fire rite. And then I'm going to call all the Brahmins and I'm going to give them gifts. So that day arrives and the ceremony happens, the fire rite happens. And then after that, then the father of Nachiketa is supposed to give the Brahmins all the things. So he is actually giving food grains to some, he's giving cattle to some, he's giving other kind of clothing and other gifts to some people. But Nachiketa, this little boy, is observing that his father is not giving the best of the gifts to the Brahmins. The gifts that his father is giving are like of poor quality. So he's giving those cattle which are of no good anymore, the cattle which do not give any more milk, and the cattle which are not good for anything else as well. Similarly, the other gifts that he's giving, they are not of good quality, they are of low quality. And he's basically just discarding things he doesn't need. And in the name of doing a sacrifice, he's superficially just, on the outside, it appears he's done a big sacrifice and he's giving gifts to the people, to the Brahmins. But on the inside, he's actually not giving good gifts. And Nachiketa, this little boy, he observes this and he goes to his father. And he tells his father that, Father, you are giving these gifts, these are of not good quality, or these are of no good, and something like that. So his father starts to get irritated. So, and this boy, he's very persistent. He keeps asking this question again and again. Oh, what are you going to go give to this Brahmin? And he even reminds his father that if you give lowly gifts to others, then you are not only is your sacrifice going to go to waste, in fact, you're going to accrue some bad karma, because you're not sincere in your heart. So this little boy is telling his father all of this, and his father is starting to get irritated, because it's a human nature, when somebody tries to point out your fault, your hidden intentions, then you kind of start to get angry, you lose your temper, because offense appears to be the best defense at that time. So the father is getting angry, and the little boy is very persistent. He keeps asking questions to his father, and a point comes when Nachiketa asks his father, okay, so and he feels in his heart that I have to do something to prevent my father from getting bad karma. And the way that this can be done is that maybe my father gifts me to someone, and then maybe this, the balance of karma would be maintained for him. So he in his innocence, he says, okay, father, so whom are you going to give me to? And the father, in his anger, and he's lost his temper that time, he says, I'm going to give you to death. So he just blurts out those words, that I'm going to give you to death. And now the Katha Upanishad doesn't actually go into the exact story as to how eventually Nachiketa, yes, he actually goes to the house of death, and then of course the Upanishad catches on the teachings, but the story there is kind of, there's a void. So all we've got to understand from here is that yes, Nachiketa goes to the house of death, and he is a mature soul, although he is in the body of a child, but he's a wise soul, and he's already seen what his father is doing, and he knows this is wrong, and he's offered himself. So now Nachiketa reaches the house of death. Now the Lord of Death, as we know, Lord Yama, he's very busy. So he's not there in his house, and he's roaming around and collecting souls, and whatever his job is, he has to do that. So he's not there. So for 3 days and 3 nights, Nachiketa waits at the door of the house of death, waiting for Lord Yama to come back. And it is in that time, it was considered that, if someone has come to, his guest is God, So if a guest has come to your house, whoever he may be, and you have not offered him water, you have not offered him food, you have not given him your comfort, then it is again a bad karma. So and this is a kind of a Brahmin boy in a sense, so it is supposed to be very bad not to have offered any food or rest or water to this guest. So when Lord Yama comes back to his house and he sees that there is this little boy and he has not been attended to and he has been given nothing, and he has refused in fact to take anything till he meets the Lord himself. So then that's at that point, Lord Yama gives Nachiketa 3 boons. He says, okay, because you have spent 3 nights at my door without being fed, therefore I grant you 3 boons. So you tell me, what do you want from me? And the first boon, Nachiketa, he says, okay, when I go back to my house, so there is this understanding in him that he's going to go back. Again, the story does not explain exactly how that's going to happen, but he says, if and when I go back to my house, my father should not be angry with me, and all the affairs of the house must be rested, and there should be peace and harmony. So this is his first boon, and Lord Yama says, okay, so be it. The second boon Nachiketa asks is, he says, because as a child he has seen that people perform rituals to reach to heaven. So for this world as well as the next world, people perform rituals. So he says, what is the next boon is, what is that highest ritual performing which one attains heaven? So then Lord Yama is kind of pleased with the question, and he gives Nachiketa a specific fire rite, a specific way, a specific karma kand to do. And in fact, in that he explains how to make the Vedi, how to light the fire and everything. In fact, it is said that that particular ritual is now called the Nachiketa ritual. It is one in the karma kand of the Vedas. So that ritual is gained by Nachiketa. So now he set his worldly affairs, he set his otherworldly affairs. Now Nachiketa is wiser than that. The third, now Yama says, okay, ask your third boon. So Nachiketa says, now I want to know, is death real? Do we exist when we die, or we do not exist? What is the mystery of life and death? Who are we really? Do we ever cease to exist, or we exist always? So this question sounds strange coming from the mouth of a little boy, but let's remember that the little boy is only small in the body. He is the eternal soul itself, like all of us are, and he's a wise, matured one. And he asked this question. Now Lord Yama is in a fix. Now Lord Yama will, in the next, later answers, the answer to this question is actually the entire Katha Upanishad, because then he starts to explain Vedanta and what is the reality of the Atman, what is the soul, what is spirit, and that how we are what we are seeking, and that we are the eternal reality ourselves. So the entire Katha Upanishad is the explanation of this truth of the Vedanta. But Lord Yama, when this boon is asked to him, he tries to deflect this. First, he tells Nachiketa that this knowledge is very, very difficult to gain. Even the gods yearn for this knowledge, and this knowledge is very difficult to attain. But then Nachiketa is persistent, and he says, no, if I cannot learn it from you, the Lord of Death itself, then from where will I learn it? So he is very wise, and he knows that he has to learn it, and this is where exactly he's going to get the answer. And so he refuses to change the boon. And then Yama gives him offers. He says, okay, what you're asking is useless information. What will you do with one class of Vedanta? Why don't you ask for the riches of the world? Why don't you ask for perpetual health? Why don't you ask for children and grandchildren and prosperity and perfect health and kind of the extreme longevity of life? Why don't you ask for these boons? So Nachiketa says, no, neither I find this knowledge difficult, nor do I want anything else. This is what I really want. So why this story today is because we have to ask this question to ourselves. Are we at a point where we really, really want to question and know the answer of who we really are? Are we this little body? Are we this mind? Are we the thoughts that we think, the prana that flows to us? Are we the witness of all of that is happening? Are we the Atman, the soul, the self, the spirit, the Brahman? What are we? Are we ready even to ask this question? Or are we still thinking of how am I going to improve this little worldly life of mine? Because this life will improve only when you have the higher understanding. Only when we realize who we are from that light of truth and from that mountain peak can we actually improve the life that we are living right now. There is no other way. Secondly, are we ready to shun the temptations of the world of more money, more name, more fame, more work? And are we ready to shun all of that and go towards the eternal light? This is a question that we need to ask ourselves. And then, are we persistent in our search? We already have the three most important blessings that Adi Shankaracharya says that a human needs. The first is the presence of a human body. We all are in a human body. The second is the presence of a Sadguru. We are all disciples of a great Guru. Third is the yearning for freedom. So that third is very, very important. दो तो हैं ही हमारे पास. अब वो थर्ड की क्या इंटेंसिटी है वो डिसाइड करेगी कि हम किस स्पीड से ट्रूथ तक पहुंचते हैं. ट्रूथ का मतलब ये नहीं है, समाधि का मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम ऐसी एक्सटेसी में पहुंच जाएं जिससे हम इस वर्ल्ड को भी ना रिलेट कर सकें. When you are in ecstasy, then you have super conscious is less conscious and you can enter the subconscious. So you are who is the king of the three worlds? And when they say the king of the three worlds, these are the three worlds: the conscious world, the subconscious world, and the superconscious world. So only from the highest mountain peak can you look down and down through. नीचे से ऊपर तक पूरा नहीं दिखता है, लेकिन एक बार ऊपर पहुंच जाते हैं और जब आप वो रास्ता पूरा काट के आए हैं, सारी सीढ़ियां चढ़ के आए हैं, तो आपको ये भी मालूम है कि ये इसमें कितना एफर्ट लगता है, इसमें क्या क्या स्टेप्स लेने होते हैं, और ये रास्ता फाइनली क्या क्या को होते हुए डिफरेंट व्यूज और विजन्स दिखाते हुए कहाँ तक पहुंचता है. इनफैक्ट इन द भगवद गीता व्हेन अर्जुन आस्क्स कृष्णा हु इज बेटर, is the ascetic better, the tapasvi better, or is the yogi better? And Krishna says the yogi is better. And then in the explanation, Paramahansa Yogananda says that the yogi is better because he knows scientifically each step of the spiritual path. Because by following the scientific steps of yoga and meditation, of Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, that the yogi knows in which direction he is going, what is the goal, how he is going to reach it, and how step by step it can be attained. So Krishna says the yogi is the best among men, and therefore Arjuna, be thou a yogi. And as we study Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, this is exactly what we are trying to do. We are aspiring yogis. We want to go into the state of perfect union with ourselves, our own soul, we the soul itself. And Patanjali has given us scientific ways to do so. And in the last sutras that we studied, from Sutra 31 to 39, he gave various steps on how we can reach the Samadhi state. And the Samadhi state is the same as the Yoga Sthiti, means when the soul and spirit are one, when we feel one with the universe, which is the truth. We are the absolute reality. But through the process of meditation, when we feel that oneness, that is the state of Samadhi. And so many things scientifically have been pointed out by Patanjali. Just to revise, from Sutra 32, he says, Samadhi state, or a peaceful or a calm mind, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, can be attained by single-pointed concentration. Single-pointed concentration on external objects or on internal breath or the spiritual eye. Then in the next sutra, he tells us the attitudes that we develop in our daily life, like to be happy with happy people, to have mercy on needy people, and to be indifferent to wicked people. So he gives the attitudes in our daily life. Then further, he says that we can attain this by attunement with a guru. So when we are attuned with the Sadguru is already in tune with God, in tune with the reality of the universe. So when we attune ourselves to him, we automatically can download the same frequency and the same data. So kind of we too can be one with the absolute reality. Then he says that when you see the calm inner light of meditation, when by regular practice you're able to see the calm inner light, through that also you can reach the samadhi state. He also says that by listening and tuning into the sound of Om, which is also taught to us in the Om technique, one can attain the samadhi state. Then he goes on further to say that even in your dream, a super conscious dream, and by meditating and contemplating on that dream, also you can attain to the samadhi state. And then he says, perfect calmness of mind can also be attained by meditating upon anything that gives peace and harmony to you. And in this, we discussed last time how the process of visualization can actually lead us to a peaceful state of mind, and how we know that how the breath and the mind are connected. So we also know that the concentration technique of Hong Sau can lead us into that state of perfect calm. And only in that state of perfect calm can we intuitively know who we really are. No amount of intellectual reasoning, no amount of thought is going to lead us there. Why? Because the self, the soul, exists beyond thought. So yes, you need your intellect and you need your mind to come to a point to understand life, but life itself can be touched only beyond thought. And that is why the techniques of meditation, and that is why scientific techniques of meditation, which help us to touch that deep reality, which is below the layers of matter, below the layers of breath and prana, below the layer of the mind. You can touch that only by the techniques of meditation and by the grace of the Guru. And that is, we are treading this path on this. And let's move on from here to Sutra 40. And the next few sutras are a little technical. It's okay if you do not understand everything that Patanjali is trying to say here. But as we practice the basics of the techniques that we have been taught, it is intuitively our soul will realize all the truths that Patanjali will explain. So Sutra 40, Patanjali says, Parmanu Param Mahatvanto Asya Vashikara. Parmanu means the smallest of atoms. Param Mahatva means extreme magnitude. Anta means at the end. Asya, belong to. Vashikara, mastery. This means the mind by this practice, means all the practices that have been told to us in the previous sutra, easily contemplates the most minute thing as well as the biggest thing. Thus, the mind waves or the vrittis become fainter over a period of time. Swami Kriyananda says, gradually, one's mastery of concentration extends from the smallest reality to the largest. So by all these techniques, what Patanjali is saying here, that we are going to be able to intuitively grasp the reality of from the smallest of atom to the biggest of highest magnitude things of the universe. And if you remember reading in the Ramayana about Rishi Vashishta and Vishwamitra, these are supposed to be Brahma Gurus. That means they are so one with the reality of God that they can themselves create universes. So only unless one understands the truth of this dream creation, once you are one with the dreamer, then you can bring into creation at will anything. And then this universe and this existence is of infinite possibilities. So do not limit yourself to your limited body, mind, complex and personality existence, to your daily life problems. Master said, always think big, associate yourself with eternity and infinity. Don't lead small lives. Know the truth of who you really are. Yogananda ji wrote in the autobiography that every atom is dowered with individuality. Isn't that thought just amazing? Think that every atom in this universe has its own individual existence and has that separate uniqueness. And that means each one of us is unique. Never ever there has existed this combination of the body, mind, complex and personality ever in the past. Yes, similar faces may be there, but this particular combination of samskaras, of vasanas, of tendencies, habit patterns, personality idiosyncrasies, this particular pattern has never been created and shall never be repeated again. Such is the uniqueness and creativity of the Lord. Isn't it just amazing? Just to ponder and contemplate on this truth itself can, you know, break the bonds of our limited thought. हम किसी भी एक गॉड एटीट्यूड पे या गॉड के एक एट्रीब्यूट पे अगर हम कॉन्टेम्पलेट करें तो हम इजिली अपनी छोटी छोटी जो चेन्स ऑफ आवर ओन थॉट्स एंड लिमिटेशन and you know, I am this poor little thing and all of that we can break. Each one of us is unique, and therefore each one of us needs to play our own role. Nobody else is going to do what we can do, what we are supposed to do. So let's rise up to this occasion and celebrate that uniqueness, and then express that uniqueness. Allow God's power and love to flow through you. Be a channel of God's love and light. And वो कैसे होगा channel of love and light? तब होगा ना जब आप खुद को realize करेंगे. अगर आप अपने में भगवान को नहीं देखेंगे तो और आप में भगवान को कैसे देखेंगे? So इसीलिए सबसे पहले तो ये जरूरी है कि आप अपनी खुद की डिविनिटी को समझिए. आप अपनी खुद की डिविनिटी को कैसे समझोगे? ये कैसे मानोगे कि आप ही भगवान हो? ये कैसे मानोगे? ये मानने के लिए आपको ये एहसास होना पड़ेगा कि yes, I am one with the peace of God, I am one with the joy of God, I am one with the wisdom of God. और इसका एहसास, इन सब का एहसास कैसे होगा? इसका प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन कैसे होगा? By the practice of meditation. Somebody, you know, one day I was just telling people, someone, you know, that you should meditate and all. So they kind of dismiss this out. Do you think meditation is going to solve all my problems? I have financial problems, I have family problems, I have this problem. I said, yes. You don't realize it, but yes. Why? Because meditation is the only technique which brings you closer to your true self. And in that state of calmness, you can manage your life 100 times better than you're doing right now. So yes, is meditation a problem solver? Yes, yes, and yes. Is Kriya Yoga a problem solver? Yes, yes, and yes. So that is why Lahiri Maharshi always advise people to do more and more Kriya. Unless we do what we've learned, the techniques that we've been given, how will we touch that inner reality that Master is talking about? In every book, Master talks about that. But सिर्फ पढ़ने से क्या होगा? अगर हमारे को दर्द हो रहा है और सामने दवाई रखी है तो उसको देखने से क्या होगा? कुछ भी नहीं होगा. उसको खाना पड़ेगा ना. जब तक खाएंगे नहीं असर नहीं होगा. इसी तरह मेडिटेशन टेक्निक के बारे में पढ़ने से, सुनने से क्या होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा. उसको प्रैक्टिस करना पड़ेगा. जब हम उसको अपना लेंगे, जब हम उसको अंदर खा जाएंगे, जब हमारा every cell of our body will know what we are doing, when we are convinced in deep down in every fiber of our being that yes, I am the peace of God, I am the joy of God, I am the eternal wisdom, I am the witness consciousness, तो तब आप अपने अंदर की डिविनिटी पहचानेंगे. और जब आप अपने अंदर की डिविनिटी पहचानेंगे, साइमल्टेनियसली आप ये जान जाएंगे कि सब लोगों में भी सेम सिमिलर डिविनिटी, एवरीबडी इज अ गॉड. Then all the conflict ends and life becomes more beautiful. There is no other way to make life more beautiful unless the human realizes that I and you are the same and the same divine self. On the outside, it appears to be different personality. On the outside, one appears to be a robber, a dacoit, a terrorist, but deep inside his heart, he is also looking for the same happiness that I'm looking. Only by regular practice of scientific yoga techniques to come to this realization, we become less judgmental, we become more forgiving, our social life definitely improves. We do not think so much, we just love. And that's what we are aiming for eventually. Of course, we want to better this life, but this life will not get better unless you reach the highest point. And therefore, we have to hold on to the scientific yoga techniques. So this brings us to the next sutra, which is Sutra 41. This is a little complex, but again, as I said, just keep the thoughts in a shelf and you will catch it, you know, as soon as you deepen in your practice. So this sutra says, Sheen vriter rabhija tasyeva mane grihi tagra han grayosu tatastha dayanatas mamati. इसका क्या मतलब है? ये आप सोचिए कि सूत्र मतलब एक थ्रेड में एक पतंजलि ने कितना बड़ा सत्य है जो हम एक एक सूत्र जो पकड़ रहे हैं, अगर हम एक सूत्र पे भी पूरी लाइफ कॉन्टेम्पलेट करें तो समाधि में पहुंच जाएंगे. तो एक एक लाइन में सारा जो ट्रूथ है वो कैसे कॉम्पैक्ट करके साइंटिफिकली डाला गया है. So what this means is, I won't go to the word meaning of every word. So Swami Vivekananda says, the yogis whose vrittis have become controlled they attain that concentration and sameness in the perceiving, the perceived, and the perceiver. So, if you remember, you have read in Master's teachings that knowing, knower, known as one. So when we realize the truth by having followed the previous methods of concentration and meditation, when we start to realize that my object of meditation, that I, the meditator, and the process of meditation are one. It's a kind of a differentiation into various realities. When God, the one absolute, created creation, he divided himself into the many. And slowly the process of coming back to the state of yoga is realizing that the many are the one. और ये सबसे पहले अपने आप में आपको एहसास होगा जब आप कोई कार्य कर रहे हैं. So the action itself, the object being acted upon, and the person acting, when you realize that this is but one and appearing as many, then you would have kind of accomplished what Patanjali is talking about here. Then the money, there's a word money, so that gem will shine in you. You will become like a crystal. Just like if you put a yellow light in front of the crystal reflects that yellow light. If you put a red rose flower in front of the crystal shows red color. Similarly, he says, you yourself will become transparent like a crystal, and you will reflect the reality as it is, after having followed the techniques of concentration and after having reached the state of chitta vritti nirodha. यानी कि जब सारे जो माइंड स्टफ में जो वेव्स हैं और जो फीलिंग्स की, हमारी इमोशंस की जो वॉर्टिसेस हैं, जब वो सेटल हो जाएंगी तो हमें असलियत नजर आने लगेगी. उसी तरह जिस तरह से अगर एक पॉट है, उसमें पानी है और वो शेक करता जा रहा है, तो वो कभी भी सन या मून की ट्रू रिफ्लेक्शन नहीं दिखा सकता. लेकिन जैसे ही वो पानी स्थिर हो जाएगा, उसमें सन और मून की रिफ्लेक्शन इतनी सच लगने लगेगी कि एज इफ वो मून ही है इटसेल्फ. सो इसी तरह हम जो है, द कप ऑफ आवर कॉन्शियसनेस, यू नो, दैट इज become turbid, that is restless by our own emotions, by our own thoughts, and our truth lies beyond thought. So जब हम meditation technique से अपने waters को of our in the mind, in our consciousness, जब हम उनको स्थिर कर लेंगे, तो जो एब्सोल्यूट रियलिटी है वो हमारी कॉन्शियसनेस में रिफ्लेक्ट हो जाएगी और हमें ट्रूथ का ज्ञान हो जाएगा और हम उसी समय समाधि स्थिति में पहुंच जाएंगे. ओके, सो द नेक्स्ट सूत्र 42. देन ही सेज, तत्र शब्दार्थ ज्ञान विकल्पे संकीर्णम सवितर्क समापति. सो इसमें शब्द, ज्ञान, विकल्प, सवितर्क, समापति मीन्स समाधि ओनली, तो ये सब मेंशन करे गए हैं. तो अभी तो उन्होंने ये बताया कि चित्तवृत्ति निरोध से आप एक प्योर रिफ्लेक्शन को अपने अंदर देख पाओगे, एब्सोल्यूट रियलिटी. अब वो ये बता रहे हैं कि जब साउंड, मीनिंग एंड नॉलेज, अब जैसे कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम ये सोचें द वर्ड काउ. So the word cow is different than what it means actually and what it sounds. So एक essence है उस शब्द का, एक word itself है और एक sound है उसकी. इसी ये किसी भी word को के लिए ये बात applicable है. अगर हम लाइट बोलें तो लाइट हम बोल रहे हैं, लाइट इस शब्द को बोलने की एक अपनी साउंड है, इसका एक मीनिंग है, एंड एसेंस क्या है लाइट का वो हम अपने दिल में समझते हैं. सो ये वो थोड़ा एब्स्ट्रैक्ट है, पर जब ये तीनों चीजें हमारे लिए एक हो जाती हैं तभी भी हम सवितर्क समाधि में पहुंच जाते हैं. अब समाधि की भी अगले वर्स में हम सूत्र में देखेंगे कितने लेवल्स पतंजलि ने डिस्क्राइब करे हैं. सो नाउ ही इज टॉकिंग ऑफ द फर्स्ट लेवल ऑफ समाधि वेयर we become either crystal clear or at the level where the sound, its meaning and the knowledge that word has, they become one to us. We in one moment we understand what this means. For example, the sound of Om. If we understand that what Om means, and understanding what Om means actually we are merging in the sound of Om. When that happens, we are going to reach Savitarka Samadhi, which is also called the Savikalpa Samadhi. Okay. So Savikalp, because there's still Vikalpa hai, matlab abhi I-ness hai usme. Swami Kriyananda says, in the first stage of Samadhi, name, form, and particular awareness are commingled. And also we remember reading earlier that सविकल्प समाधि में जो मेडिटेटर होता है उसको फिर भी कुछ हद तक आभास होता है कि वो मेडिटेट कर रहा है और एक ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ मेडिटेशन है. And then this will lead to further states of samadhi. Okay. Sutra 43. समृद्धि परिशुद्धो स्वरूप शून्यवार्थ मात्र निर्भासा निर्वितर्क. सो अब ये निर्वितर्क शब्द आ गया तो ये नेक्स्ट लेवल ऑफ समाधि पे हमें लेके जा रहे हैं जिसका है निर्वितर्क. वितर्क, तर्क क्या होता है? रीजनिंग. वितर्क डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. निर्वितर्क मीन्स जहां जिस पॉइंट पे आपकी जो रैशनल थिंकिंग है वो और जो तर्क वितर्क है वो खत्म हो जाता है, उस पॉइंट पे जाके ये समाधि स्टेट आ जाता है क्योंकि उसमें आईनेस कम हो जाती है. जो आई है वो भी एक थॉट है. Ramana Maharshi used to say, if you go back to and keep asking yourself, who am I? Who am I? वो I कौन है? ये नाम है मेरा, ये पर्सनालिटी है, ये शरीर है, ये मेरे विचार हैं. ये आप इस पे कॉन्टेम्पलेट करो कि मैं कौन हूं. उसको रूट को, आईनेस की रूट को ढूंढोगे तो वो मिलेगी नहीं. इट्स एन इल्यूजन. The little I that I am this body and mind is an illusion. Only by deep yoga practice and by practice of jnana yoga one can come to this conclusion, or even by bhakti when one surrenders into the divine consciousness. Even then you know that you are nothing, that the little I is actually an illusion. So ये बहुत गहरी और गहन बातें हैं, लेकिन ये इम्पॉसिबल बातें नहीं है. ये हमारे सामने जो पतंजलि किताब बना के गए हैं, सूत्र लिख के गए हैं, ये इसलिए बना के गए हैं कि इन सूत्रों को हम पकड़ें, ये जाने कि हाईएस्ट ज्ञान क्या है, और ये सब अटेनेबल है. By scientific yoga techniques, by scientific steps, one by one, this is all attainable. And our Guru has come to help us to attain all these states. This is the purest science of the mind and the purest science of beyond. Scientists are unable to touch this. And many scientists actually do believe that this universe is resting on a piece of thought. And the yogis know that the thought rests on consciousness. So the yogis have gone beyond that, beyond any power of reasoning. But how do you know then it's true? Because you can feel it. How do you know love is true? You cannot define it, but you can feel it. How do you know happiness is true? Because you can feel it. So it is beyond thought, but it is in your perception. Now here we do not want to confuse emotions and feeling. Emotions are separate, and the power of feeling means calm perception is separate. So when the emotions are settled, when the thoughts are settled, then is awakened the faculty of your intuition, then is awakened the faculty of your inner calm perception, where you can actually know who you are. And then when you come down to this life, you can live it in a much better way. Okay, so Swami Kriyananda says, when one's consciousness has freed itself of all self-identity, the true self shines forth in all the purity and brilliance beyond any reasoned definitions. This is Nirvitark Samadhi. Sutra 44. अतएव सविचार निर्विचार ससूक्ष्म विषय. सो अब पतंजलि जो है, मास्टर ने हमारे लिए इजी करा है, हमें दो डेफिनेशन दिए हैं, सविकल्प और निर्विकल्प. लेकिन पतंजलि ने समाधि की स्टेट्स को और ज्यादा डिवाइड करा हुआ है. आफ्टर सवितर्क एंड निर्वितर्क ही सेज देन देयर इज सविचार एंड निर्विचार, मींस बिल्कुल ही एक भी विचार नहीं आना और कुछ विचार आना. सो ये बेसिकली स्टेप्स हैं जो कि एक योगी अटेन करता है, धीरे धीरे प्रोग्रेस करता है. सो हम ग्रॉसली अगर डिफाइन करें तो सविकल्प और निर्विकल्प ही रहेगा. सविकल्प का पहला स्टेप आएगा सवितर्क, फिर वहां से पहुंचेंगे निर्वितर्क, फिर सविचार, फिर निर्विचार. और फिर कई योगियों ने उसके बाद भी दो लेवल्स मेंशन करे हैं. आई जस्ट मेंशन इट फॉर द सेक ऑफ थियोरी एंड कंप्लीशन ऑफ द टॉपिक, but actually savikalp and nirvikalp works best for us. So beyond nirvichar, there is sa anand samadhi, there is sa asmita samadhi, and then finally they say all of this eventually leads to dharma megha samadhi. So this is just to complete the series, but actually it's simply speaking a samadhi state where I know that I am watching that I am one with the universe, and then the samadhi state where the I-ness disappears completely and I'm actually one with the entire universe without any definition. That is why ये कहा जाता है कि उस स्थिति में आप कुछ बोल भी नहीं सकते, आप थिंक भी नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि आप उसके पूरी तरह बियॉन्ड जा चुके हो और आप एब्सोल्यूट कॉन्शियसनेस में मर्ज कर सकते हो। और इस सूत्र में ये भी कहा गया है कि धीरे धीरे जो आपकी परसेप्शंस हैं वो फाइनर होती रहती हैं एज यू गो थ्रू दी स्टेट्स ऑफ समाधि। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर हम पहले एक फ्लावर पे मेडिटेट करें, लेट्स सी हम अब एक प्लांट पे मेडिटेट कर रहे हैं, फिर धीरे धीरे हम उसके फ्लावर पे आ जाते हैं, एक रोज है हम उस पे मेडिटेट करने लग जाते हैं, फिर धीरे धीरे हम उसके रेड कलर पे मेडिटेट करने लग जाते हैं, और फिर हम और गहराई में जाते हैं, फिर हम रोज की फ्रेग्रेंस पे मेडिटेट कर जाते हैं। यानी कि फ्रॉम ग्रॉस टू सटल जो है, ये सारी जो स्टेट्स ऑफ समाधि हैं ये हमें हर लेवल की कंप्लीट नॉलेज, अवेयरनेस एंड विजडम दिलाती हैं, और इवेंचुअली दे टेक अस टू दैट लेवल from where the rose has emerged, from where we have emerged, and that absolute consciousness is what we are, and we are in the process of achieving it again. It has been veiled for us because of the presence of Maya and because of our own samskars, vasanas, and habit patterns and personality idiosyncrasies. Okay. I think it seems we can finish Samadhi Pada today. Let me see just a few more pages. So, Sutra 45. Sukshma Vishayatvam Chalit Parth Vasanam. So, the subtlety of the objects does not surpass the state of its primal unmanifested state. Swami Kriyananda says, the subtlest perceptions become indistinguishable from one another. तो अगर हम एक चीज को ब्रेक डाउन करते रहेंगे तो वो कहाँ तक ब्रेक डाउन होगी? तो हमने कहा मैटर को ब्रेक डाउन करा मॉलिक्यूल से एटम में, और एटम से सब एटमिक पार्टिकल से, वहां से हम गए, फिर आइंस्टाइन ने कह दिया ऑल मैटर इज एनर्जी, तो हम वहां से हम एनर्जी लेवल पे आ गए। एनर्जीज को भी ब्रेक डाउन करते करते हम थॉट लेवल पे आ गए, और योगी कह रहे हैं कि थॉट के भी बियॉन्ड है एक पॉइंट जो कि एब्सोल्यूट अनडिविजिबल कॉन्शियसनेस है। तो इस सूत्र में वो कह रहे हैं कि दिस इज द लिमिट एंड इसके बियॉन्ड और कुछ नहीं हो सकता, बिकॉज दिस इज द बिगिनिंगलेस एंड द एंडलेस एब्सोल्यूट एग्जिस्टेंस, द सच्चिदानंद दैट वी टॉक अबाउट। सूत्र 46 ताएव सबीज समाधि। तो फिर सबीज मतलब सीड, विद सीड। तो फिर से ये एक्सप्लेनेशन पतंजलि हमें बार बार देते हैं कि जो वेरियस स्टेजेस ऑफ समाधि हैं उसमें कहीं ना कहीं सीड होता है, बीज होता है। बीज का क्या मतलब हुआ? अगर कोई बीज है इसका मतलब प्लांट दोबारा उगने का पूरा चांस है। तो जो सभी कल्प समाधि है उसमें क्या बीज है कि आईनेस स्टिल एग्जिस्ट, और जब तक आईनेस एग्जिस्ट करती है तब तक हम वापस इस वर्ल्ड ऑफ डिल्यूजन में फॉल कर सकते हैं। स्वामी जी सेज कि कई बार सविकल्प समाधि अटेन करने के बाद सेंट्स फॉल कर जाते हैं, बिकॉज उस पॉइंट पे क्योंकि वो उस रियलिटी को टच कर पाते हैं कभी ना कभी, पर उनकी आईनेस गई नहीं है, तो वो अपने आप को इतना महान समझने लग जाते हैं कि वो अपने आप को अपने गुरु से भी महान समझने लग जाते हैं, और वही पॉइंट होता है कि वो डिल्यूजन में कॉट अप हो जाते हैं। जब तक आई एंड यू की भावना नहीं जाएगी तब तक सत्य तक नहीं पहुंचा जा सकता। सत्य तो ये है कि आई एंड यू है ही नहीं, हम सब एक ही हैं, देयर इज ओनली वन प्योर कॉन्शियसनेस। एक ओमकार सदगुरु प्रसाद, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says there is one, Omkar is one, everything is one, God is one, realized by the grace of true Guru. जब तक वो realization नहीं आएगा तब तक माया में, डिल्यूजन में फॉल बैक करने का चांस खत्म नहीं होएगा। तो वो सीड तो सभी कल्प समाधि का बीज है आईनेस, और निर्विकल्प समाधि का क्या बीज है? उसमें वो कहते हैं कि दोबारा आप डिल्यूजन में तो नहीं फॉल कर सकते, किंतु जो आपने पास्ट लाइव्स में ईगो लेवल से एक्ट किया है उसके इम्प्रेशंस अभी भी आपकी कॉन्शियसनेस में रह जाते हैं, एंड देयरफॉर persisting in the state of nirvikalp samadhi eventually destroys even those impressions and you become one with the absolute consciousness. So यही बात इन्होंने सबीज में एक्सप्लेन की हुई है। अगला सूत्र है 47 निर्विचार वैशर्यध्या अध्यात्म प्रसादः. So this means By the uninterrupted flow of nirvichar samadhi, the luminous Atman prevails, or the chitta becomes firmly fixed. Swamiji says, in the purity of nirvichara samadhi, the supreme self shines. So now, when the yogi has achieved this state, then the Atman, which is self-luminous, effulgent, it shines forth. There is nothing to obstruct it. There is no thought, there is no I-ness, there is no past impression, and it shines as it is, absolute consciousness, and it shines forth. So this is what is meant by Sutra 47. Sutra 48. Ritambhara tatra pragya means that is the consciousness filled with truth. In this state, one attains the absolute consciousness or absolute truth. और इसी की बात, इसी टाइमलेस ट्रूथ की बात हर सेंट ने की है, हर अवतार ने की है, और ये टाइमलेस ट्रूथ जो है वो हम हैं. दैट इज आवर ट्रूथ. हम अपने आप को कुछ और ही समझते हैं, और जितनी भी स्क्रिप्चर्स हैं, जितने भी ये योगा के टेक्निक्स हैं, ये सारे हमें उस सच तक ले जाने के लिए हैं कि हम एक आत्मन हैं. हम मर नहीं सकते, सिर्फ शरीर शेड हो जाता है, मैटर शेड हो सकता है, प्राणा शेड हो सकता है, थॉट शेड हो सकता है, लेकिन हम वी आर द एवर शाइनिंग कॉन्शियस विटनेस of all these things. It is the light of our own Atman that sheds light, and it kind of illuminates the mind, it illuminates the prana, it illuminates the body. Master said that don't depend on the body. The body should thank you because you're living through it. You are not the body. You are that life itself that lives through the body. It is you who enliven the body, and someday you will leave this body and the body will just be dead, nothing. Just a piece of matter will merge back into the 5 elements. Nothing. You are not the body. Therefore, holding on to these truths, it is so important that we hear these truths again and again. क्योंकि डेली लाइफ में ये सच हमें नहीं सुनने को मिलता. हम तो लोगों की प्रॉब्लम से ही नहीं हट पाते हैं. टीवी चलाओ तो वहां पर भी दुख और दर्द और मिजरी. लोगों की लाइफ में देखो, वहां पर भी दुख, दर्द, मिजरी. और स्क्रिप्चर्स हमें कह रहे हैं कि तुम तो आनंद हो, यू आर पेरिनियल ब्लिस इटसेल्फ. तो कैसे पता चलेगा ये? बार बार सत्संग में सच सुनने से, बार बार गुरु गिवन टेक्निक्स फॉलो करने से, बार बार अपने आप को इन्फिनिट लॉर्ड को सरेंडर करने से, भक्ति भाव जगाने से, ये सब जब ये सब हम करेंगे, तो then how can God let us down? And God is our own self. We cannot let ourselves down. So awaken to the fact that you are truth itself. You are absolute consciousness, that you are God, you are divinity itself, you are joy itself. Anything less than that is not going to satisfy you. The struggle remains as long as this realization comes, and this is called self-realization. And everything that we have today, all the yoga techniques, the grace of the guru and the human body, we have everything we need to this is freedom from the life circle of birth and death. जब आपको ये जान ही लेते हो कि आप मर भी नहीं रहे, आप तो पैदा ही नहीं हो रहे हो, it is only the body mind complex, that you are only, just that pure bliss and pure consciousness. ये theory नहीं है, इसका एहसास अनुभव किया जा सकता है, और इसको टेस्टिफाई करने ही हमारे लाइन ऑफ गुरुज आए हैं. और इस ट्रूथ को जितने भी यहाँ क्रिया योगी आज बैठे हैं, मैं ये कह सकती हूँ कि उन्होंने कुछ हद तक, टू सम डिग्री और ग्रेड, यू हैव रियलाइज्ड दिस ट्रूथ. So hold on to that. That is the truth inside your heart. Hold to that. Let the world do what they have to do or what they want to do. But if you have ever felt the shining light of truth within you, hold on to that. Hold on to the guru and just move on. And don't settle less for less, I would say. Little peace of mind, little peace, harmony in life. No, that is not the end. Unless you attain absolute consciousness and absolute truth, unless आप उसमें fixed हो जाएं, जब तक माया का होल्ड आपके ऊपर ना चला जाए, आप अपना उसी दिशा में आपने चलते जाना है, चलते जाना है. You crawl, you walk, you run, you jog, you gallop, you decide, you fly. Kriya Yoga is the airplane route. Hold on to that. Just fly. Lahiri Maharshi said a very interesting statement. He said, if escapism be the need of man, why not escape into omnipresence? You are the omnipresent spirit living in the cage of the body. So by meditation, you can free that spirit, free the soul into omnipresence. Escape, sit in meditation, go within yourself and escape the body and mind personality. Go into that spaciousness, go into light, go into Om. This is all accessible to us by the grace of God and the Guru. It is accessible to us. Okay, just the last two sutras and we are finished with this first book of Patanjali Yoga Sutras. 49. Shruta Numan Pragya Sham Manya Vishaya Visheshartvat. This high truth is completely different from any knowledge or awareness gained by hearing about it, studying about it in scripture, or coming to it by a process of reasoning. So here, this is a self-explanatory sutra actually. तो जो भी ज्ञान हम प्राप्त करते हैं देखने से, सुनने से, रीजन और इंटेलेक्ट के एप्लीकेशन से, जो ये एब्सोल्यूट कॉन्शियसनेस का विजडम है, उसको हम नॉलेज भी नहीं कहते, उसको विजडम कहते हैं बिकॉज दैट्स एन इंट्यूटिव अंडरस्टैंडिंग. This is different than the knowledge gained through the senses and the faculty of the mind. We have to understand. और अगर हम भगवत गीता पे जाएं तो कृष्ण अर्जुन को कहते हैं कि क्षेत्र और क्षेत्रज्ञ में अंतर समझिए अर्जुन. क्षेत्र क्या है? The field of action in which everything is happening in the body, in the mind, in the breath, all of that. And Kshetragya is the knower of that field. You are the Kshetragya and not the Kshetra. You are not the field in which this is happening. You are the witness. And if you are the witness, you can also be the controller. You are the dreamer. So again, this truth has to be reminded to us again and again. Okay, Sutra 50. Taj samskaro anya samskar pratibandhi. The awareness that I am free, which comes from this highest samadhi, eliminates all other impressions. So all the impressions of all the past lives that we have in our mind, stored as vrittis in our consciousness along our astral spine, all of them will be washed away. There will be no impression left once this final impression that I am the absolute consciousness itself, that I am free. Once this is so when it is there in every fiber of our being, then all the impressions will go away. And this is what Kriya Yoga does. It creates that flood-like energy in you, in your brain, that all the grooves of past tendencies, Master said, they are like hiding in your grooves in the brain. It's like, circuits in the brain. Once you give so much flood-like energy into the brain, all of them will be washed away. All the darkness is replaced by light. जो वो prayer है हमारी, Lord, take us from darkness to the light. Take us from the unknowing to the knowing. Take us from mortality to immortality. इसका क्या अर्थ है? ये जो प्रेयर हम करते हैं, ये हम हिंदू शास्त्रों में हर जगह की जाती है. तो ये कैसे होगा? मॉर्टल से हम इमॉर्टल कैसे बनेंगे? जब हम इन सभी सत्यों को मानेंगे, जानेंगे, अपने अंदर इनका अनुभव करेंगे, तो हम जान जाएंगे कि हम हैं ही इमॉर्टल. और हम ये सिर्फ रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं इस बॉडी में, इस माइंड के साथ, इस पर्सनालिटी में, इस सेटिंग में, ये हम रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं और ये टेम्पररी है. दिस इज नॉट हु वी रियली आर. And the final sutra of the first book, that is Sutra 51. Tasyapi nirodhe sarva nirodhan birja samadhi. When all latent impressions are suppressed, it becomes nirbij samadhi, the seedless one. Swamiji says, when even the thought that I am free is eliminated, the soul attains that seedless samadhi. So every step has been explained. If we just analyze this first Samadhi Pada that we have studied, first Patanjali explains us the meaning of the waves. Vritti kya hai? Or फिर chitta vritti, chitta kya hai? Vritti kya hai? Secondly, he tells us what is the best way of controlling those vrittis or erasing those vrittis. Then thirdly, he also explains how to make one wave so strong that the other waves go away. And by all the techniques of concentration, what we are doing is basically we are fixing an idea to one wave and the rest of them will disappear. And then finally, even that goes. So step by step, Patanjali has given us the wisdom and the way to attain our goal. So with that thought, my dear friends, let us share the power of these teachings, the truth, the blessings that we have received with souls everywhere. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Oh. 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 Divine Mother, may thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you, dear friends, and Jai Guru to all.